How you doing there, folks? Howdy, folks. This is Bruce Lahamadou back again. This is my second video for YouTube on my personal story on how I found out about a luciferian Illuminati plot conspiracy to destroy humanity. And my personal journey and how I came to know all this stuff, which I think is an interesting story, perspective in this regard. As I might have mentioned in my first video, I had all these people coming to me and saying, Course in Miracles and Uranta and Christian Science and New Age people coming to me just out of nowhere, really. I mean, I wasn't looking for this. I wasn't asking nobody about religion or spirituality. They were coming to me. And as a result, I kind of said, well, I'm going to have to look into this at that point. And I went home, being in the culture that, Western civilization, my background, my mom was Catholic. She didn't really practice being a Catholic. My dad, the last name, Lahamadou, means man of God. They were French Huguenots that, escaped genocide from France back in their mid-1600s and came to this country. But my dad was if you asked him, he would say he was a pagan. So, I mean, I grew up in a very secular environment, watching Gilligan's Island and I Dream of Jeannie, went to public schools, and got into drugs. So I wasn't really that inclined to, join a church or something like that. Anyhow, I decided that I was 30 years old at this point in my life. I was back from rehab. My mom had Lou Gehrig's disease, and I felt like it was time to really it was time to figure out who I was, spiritually, religiously, politically, whatever. And so naturally, for me, being a Western civilization white guy from European roots, I went to the Bible to start this journey into what do I believe about God, the universe, the world I'm living in, and all that. And I read the book from beginning to end. And I took all kinds of notes. I had a Bible dictionary, a concordance. I mean, I was super, I'm going to figure this stuff out. I got to. And what I found was most intriguing about the Bible was, the prophecies and end time stuff. And so I started to also go to Christian bookstores to see what other, Christian writers were saying about that topic. And also, at the same time, I was also looking at other religions, mostly from Christians writing about other religions. But, I was learning what Hinduism is, what Buddhists believed, what Muslims believed, and also into the New Age. I was reading books about the New Age, and started getting even more into what is the occult, magic and all that stuff. Tex Mars was a I read a couple of his books. Dave Hunt was some of the books that I read. And at that time in my life, I would like tune into Christian talk show. I remember listening to Harold Camping, that crazy nut who tried to predict the world was going to end in I forget what year. But a few, just whoever I was just interested. I was very interested in the topic, and I also was taking care of my mom who had Lou Gehrig's disease, and I was working as a carpenter, like I'd mentioned in my first video. And I always wanted to learn how to play the guitar. I guess that's why I started this video with me playing the guitar. And I asked him for lessons, and he was going to a music school, which I decided a little later on that I would do a semester there. And when I went to that music school, just out of nowhere, these two kids came up to me in the hallway and said, It's the end of the world. You got to read this. This is Clarence Larkin. You got to believe, Jesus is coming back soon. And they gave me this, like, Clarence Larkin pamphlet with all these, like, charts in it and stuff. And I found that really interesting. And, anyhow, so I was really into that. And I even did join a Baptist church for a couple of weeks, but it didn't last long. And matter of fact, it was over what they believed about the end times, the rapture or something like that. I started this controversy in the church, and the pastor ended up having to leave, and I kind of, I didn't know, I just stopped going, and but one of these books, Tex Mars, said it had a show on shortwave radio. And I thought Tex Mars was really interesting. He had all these books about the occult and Freemasonry and the New World Order. I was starting to learn about the New World Order through those books as well. And actually, the very first book I got about the New World Order was back in the late 80s, like 89. My brother just handed me a book one day. I was actually still in rehab, and we went to visit him, and he handed me a book by Ralph Epperson called The Hidden Hand. And I read it, but I didn't really, it didn't really register with me, I guess. I don't know if I read the whole book or not, but I remember him giving me that book and reading some of it, at least. And thought it was interesting. But anyhow, so I bought this shortwave radio, and I was tuning through the dial one night and found this show called The Hour at a Time with William Cooper. And it was during the Waco siege. And he was saying, if we don't do nothing to stop them people, they're going to kill those people. And the very next day, I couldn't find his radio show. Couldn't find it for another week on a different frequency because they had burned his transmitter to the ground. And he thought it was the government that did it, sabotage, because he was saying, and that was the day before they burnt those people up. And so I really, that struck a note with me, and I really started to really pay attention. I listened to his show every night, and that was the beginning of my journey really into understanding Freemasonry, Illuminati, America's Secret Destiny. He talked a lot about, the roots of this country, which also is I found very interesting and intriguing, considering I have, ancestry that knew George Washington and had a lot to do, almost lesser known founding father of this nation. And I started to study. I started looking into the Federalist Papers and really wanting to have a better understanding of the the origins of this country. And so, yeah, that's how it all began for me, how I got into this topic. That was back in the early 90s. I've been a conspiracy theorist. You know, I was a conspiracy theorist before it was cool to be a conspiracy theorist. I was a conspiracy theorist before internet. I spent many days going to the libraries and clarifying, you know, looking up different documents, congressional records, public law 74 or State Department 7477. I would go to bookstores and look for, you know, whatever. I didn't really, you know, just books that were mentioned about the globalist and New World Order. I can't really remember any of them off the top of my head, but, you know, and just a bunch of stuff. And I've seen very rare, very secretive secret society books that talked about, and I can't really confirm this, but I could have sworn there was one that showed 9/11 written in the 1930s, and it said 2001 9/11 was like the beginning of their judgment day. But I can't say that for sure because I don't have a copy of that book. It's just something that I swear I remember seeing. Anyhow, I'm going to leave it at that. This is video 2 of a series, which I'm not sure if I'm going to call Esoteric Veritas or The Man of God Speaks Out. I just started doing this, today. This is the second one. I've been on Facebook for a year, and I realized I ain't really getting nowhere there. So I thought I'd try to do YouTube, see if I have better luck, get more interest. And as time goes on, I hope to be able to present this information better in my personal story. I'm sure not Alex Jones or Freeman Fly or David Icke. But at the same time, I think, having that background of my great-great-grandfather, Ezra Lahamadu, knowing George Washington, and all these people coming to me with their spirituality and how it all got me started with this is interesting, and I'll add a lot more to that story as well as time goes on. But thank you for watching, and share this video if you feel inclined, and you can also check me out on Facebook. And thank you very much for watching.